Hey guys, how's it going? I'm XYZ Cruncher and welcome to another episode of Random Ramblings, the show where I just talk some random shit into a camera for a while, completely unscripted, and you guys listen for some reason. And today I'm going to be talking about the Legend of Zelda franchise. Basically, around about, I think, early last year when the Switch was launched, the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was a launch title for the system, and it was a great fucking game. It was a huge success, a roaring success. I personally love the hell out of it. I'm still playing through it, and I've enjoyed my experience with it from beginning to end. There's not been a bit that I didn't like. But what I want to talk about today is where the Zelda franchise goes from here, because the Zelda franchise is at a point where it's just gone past the usual dungeon formula and everything, and just a usual formula of all 2D and 3D Zelda simultaneously. It's not what it used to be. It's just taken a complete 180, and well, not 180, but you know what I mean. It's just fucking. It's just changed extremely, and it's been incredible, but the question of where the Zelda franchise goes from here is really up in the air. If you've played Breath of the Wild for yourself, you definitely know what I'm on about. The game is just the franchise has just taken a completely different direction to what it previously was. It kind of can't be put into words without actual scripting, and as you know, like I said at the beginning of this video, random ramblings are always scripted, but yeah, the first possibility I want to talk about where the Zelda franchise is going to go from here is maybe going back to the Breath of the Wild formula and just kind of expanding on it, which is something I think is going to be the most likely option, I'd say, in terms of where the Zelda franchise is going to go from here. Basically, in terms of complaints that people had for most of Breath of the Wild, its gameplay and just the game in general, people complained about weapons breaking, and I don't know if they're going to keep that in. I think it was a great mechanic. It kind of incentivized exploration, and it kind of created it just made, I feel like if it wasn't there, the game would have been a lot worse than it actually was. And I don't know if they would keep that. I was thinking of maybe a possibility of maybe having weapons just kind of deteriorate over time after multiple uses, rather than just straight up breaking, so they're borderline useless. But it would essentially just be the same thing, except you have like your inventory space just crowded up by weapons, but in case you need them. I personally never found myself in a situation where I had run out of weapons entirely and I couldn't fight anymore. Because I always, at the very least, had a bow or like an axe or like a hammer or something, or a sword just like left over. So I don't know why people were complaining about it, because it wasn't that big of a problem. But if they do implement that, the mechanic that I was thinking of, it might clog up the inventory space. So I don't think that's much of a possibility. In terms of dungeon structures, they've always done they've done the shrines for pretty much most of Breath of the Wild. Spoilers if you haven't played the game yet, but other than the shrines, the only other dungeons, at least the ones that I've come across so far, is the Divine Beast, which have the dungeons inside of them, and yeah, that's pretty cool. So it's not completely deviated from the old formula, but it's pretty different anyway. But it's not a complete shift, and I don't think they will go away from that. But the question is, will they bring back fully fledged dungeons like they had in Ocarina of Time and other games like that? A lot of people have said that Nintendo would be stupid to deviate from the Breath of the Wild formula, but I don't know. I feel like if all Zeldas carried on from what Breath of the Wild have done, from now on, it would probably lessen the impact of Breath of the Wild, maybe, or it might hurt its legacy a bit. I'm not sure. I would personally love another Zelda like that, but I don't know if it could be done without completely, ripping off Breath of the Wild and kind of making Breath of the Wild 2 almost. Kind of like how Phantom Hourglass copied well, it was essentially a direct sequel, but it kind of copied pretty much everything from Wind Waker, just put it on the handheld instead. I personally loved Phantom Hourglass and the little bit of Wind Waker that I played, but some people just didn't like Phantom Hourglass, and I'm not saying that's one of the reasons why, because there were other reasons like backtracking and stuff, but for some people it might have been, so I don't know if people will be accepting of Nintendo going back to the Breath of the Wild formula. The other most likely possibility, one that I think is a lot less likely but still plausible, is Nintendo going back to the previous formula that was seen in Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, and A Link Between Worlds, A Link to the Past. You get the fucking idea. But yeah, I think it is very likely, but it's not the most likely, because they've already kind of established like this is what Zelda can be. Zelda isn't limited to the old formula that's been around since fucking the NES era. Like I had said, going back to the Breath of the Wild formula might make future entries less special, so they might want to go back to the old formula to prevent that. But again, it's up in the air, so what could actually happen. But I think the most likely option is going back to the Breath of the Wild formula. And then the final possibility that I thought of was a completely new formula, completely new direction for the franchise, and I can't even really fathom what that would be. I can't think of any possibilities. Maybe you guys can, and you can let me know in the comments, but I'm lost as to what they could do. Maybe they could make like a full-on, like, Zelda's always been seen as kind of like an action-adventure game but with RPG elements. If they made a full-on Zelda RPG, I think there'd be no going back at that point, so I don't know if they'd actually go that extreme. But there's multiple ways they could go about it, but I can't see anything that would be extremely drastic like Breath of the Wild was. Again, even Breath of the Wild wasn't that drastic, because we'd obviously already seen 3D Zelda, we'd seen slightly open world, open field type things, but in games like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, the open fields were pretty barren and stuff, and not much of a focal point. But in Breath of the Wild, well, it's in the name, it's the Breath of the Wild. The wild is the core of the game, and it's obviously going to be filled with monsters and just places to explore and secrets to discover. So it was a bit of a deviation, but not a lot. So I don't think there's anything that they could do that would be a drastic departure from what has already been set in stone for Zelda. But again, it's all up in the air, so we'll just have to wait and see. And that's it for this today's episode of Random Ramblings. I've been stumbling over my words all episode, so hopefully it's not a bitch to edit, but these videos aren't very edited anyway, so it shouldn't be that too much of a problem. Thank you for sticking around if you have till the end of this video. I really appreciate it. I'm hoping to reach 100 subscribers by the end of the year, so if you could do that, I'd really appreciate it if you could please subscribe and like the videos, share, whatever. Any little bit helps. And yeah, I've been XYZ Cruncher. Feel free to check out some videos here. Like I said, I want to reach 100 by the end of the year, so please subscribe if you do enjoy the content. I am hoping to expand and kind of make better content as it goes on. I'm steadily improving. This isn't my usual style of content. I do have some more scripted, more coherent stuff, but enough jabbering. Just feel free to check out the videos, subscribe. I've been XYZ Cruncher. Stay cool, stay safe, stay crunchy, and I'm out. Peace.